As the title of the video says, what return on investment can I expect from Scarlet and Violet? Now, I'm going to go over the booster box sets first and then move into the two non-booster box sets, the holiday sets 151 and Paldean Fates. Now, it's funny, isn't it? It feels like only yesterday that Scarlet and Violet hit our shelves, but you know what? It's been out for quite some time now. And Elite Trainer boxes and booster boxes, no sets have really made much of a move yet, other than perhaps maybe 151 a little bit and Paldea evolved a little bit in its booster box form. So this begs the question, what return on investment can I ultimately expect? Now, we all know the economy is in a little bit of a downturn at the moment. There's not as much consumer spending going on at the moment. We feel it in the car industry at the moment. There's not as many people buying new cars, of course, but when it comes to Pokemon booster boxes, I don't want you to have a short-minded approach. If your approach is to expect what happened to Evolving Skies in a 2-year period to happen to something right now, your expectations just aren't on the right track. I'm talking, what can we expect in 5 years' time, or perhaps even 10 years' time? And the biggest indicator of that is its top 10 value price. I've done a video on this before, and in fact, I've done a couple of videos on Sword and Shield and overall. And overall, there's a clear correlation between the scarcity of the box and the top 10 hits inside, like the total value of the top 10 hits. That ultimately gives us a future booster box price. Now, yes, there's some outliers. I'll admit that. It's almost like the 95-5 rule. Why is an XY Evolutions booster box worth so much? Why is an XY base set booster box worth so much? And the answer is really, particularly of XY base for argument's sake, is that that is just a collectible in its own right. Sealed products, sealed booster boxes become collectibles in their own rights. XY base was not printed anywhere near as much as the latter XY sets, once the craze of Pokemon Go sort of hit. So anyway, on to the topic at hand. What can I expect from Scarlet and Violet? Let's jump straight into Scarlet and Violet base. Now, I've added up all the top 10 hits from every Scarlet and Violet set so far. The top chase card from S&V base is, of course, that Miriam, which is actually a really good looking card, but its total value, top 10, is only $153 US. These prices are straight off TCG Player. In the past, sets with top 10 values only equaling $153, you're comparing it to things like Sun and Moon base. You're comparing it, unfortunately, to sets like Steam Siege. You're comparing it during the Sword and Shield era to sets like Rebel Clash. Now, one premise I just need to make is there's two components to this, top 10 value and scarcity. And scarcity really depends on reprint or total print numbers. Scarlet and Violet base has had a reprint. Every other Scarlet and Violet set is well and truly still in rotation. Any of them could get reprinted at any time. And in fact, some of them, I imagine, are very likely to get reprinted this September, October. So that could have a big impact on what we expect. That's why I'm talking, we need to think long term. Pokemon will print to demand. If demand is up and the market is requiring a reprint or expecting a reprint, there's a very, very high chance that will happen. So can you make money over the next 2 years? Oh, maybe a little bit, but this is why I want you to focus long term. 5-year, 10-year hold on these products. So the next one, Paldea Evolve. This is the one that has seen a little bit of growth on the booster box. Top 10 hits add up to $387. The main chase card, of course, being the Magikarp. And there's a lot, that top 9 that comes after it, the other 9 that come after that Magikarp, they're all pretty strong hits. None of them are big value, but, they're sort of ticking along at $40 hits, $30 hits, $25 hits, $21 hits. So it's like, there's a bit of depth to Paldea Evolve. To give you an idea, top 10 hits of $387. You're comparing it to sets like Silver Tempest in Sword and Shield era. Even sets like Battle Styles have a really similar top 10 value. So maybe think towards those sets. I know Paldea gets a lot of love, and it probably is one of the better sets so far. In fact, maybe the best set so far from Scarlet and Violet. But when your expectations regarding what you expect the booster box future price to be, just keep that in mind. So I'm trying to give you an indication of what sort of return you'll get based on previous sets with similar top 10 values. The next one that come out, of course, is Obsidian Flames. Top 10 hits equals $125. The biggest chase card, of course, being that Charizard. To give you an indication, where are we from? Darkness Ablaze, aren't we? That has a top 10 hits value of about $80. So Obsidian Flames is a little bit stronger. Also think there's some cards in there that could pop off a little bit. You know, the Gloom is a really nice looking card, and it's only, I think, like $5 on TCG Player. The Ninetales, I think, which is like an $11 or $12 card, is a beautiful looking card, probably deserves a little bit more value than what it's given in the market. So there's a possibility that Obsidian's top 10 could increase. Is it ever going to be $500? No, unfortunately it's not. So when it comes to investing in it, you know, really think about where that top 10 hits lands you with a potential return on investment. The next one, Paradox Rift, top 10 equal $326. So actually not too far off Paldea Evolve, with the top hit, of course, being the Roaring Moon. And again, that falls in line with sets like Battle Styles and Silver Tempest when it comes to top 10 value. Next one that, of course, come out was Temporal Forces. Now, believe it or not, Temporal Forces, its top 10 hits is higher than Paldea Evolved at $408. The Raging Bolt being the number one hit inside the set. This set has actually got a fair bit of depth in the top 10. You know, we're talking like an $80 card, a $60 card, $50 card, $45 cards, another $40 card, a couple of cards in the 30s. If you pulled anything down into the top 10, like maybe even if you pulled the Ghastly IR, you're going to be pretty happy with yourself if you pull that out of a booster box. I know it doesn't cover the cost of the box, of course, but there you go. Who would have thought Temporal Forces has a higher top 10 value than Paldea Evolve? Now, return on investments wise, where can this potentially go in the future? Well, you're getting close. To give you an idea, a set like Astral Radiance top 10 value is about $460. So if we do see a little bit of growth on some of those Temporal Forces singles, which is possible, they could also decline if it gets a reprint. But if we're talking 5-10 years even, I think we're going to see Temporal Forces top 10 hits remain pretty solid. It's a pretty solid set. It's very much on par with Paldea Evolve. Is it maybe a touch better? It's hard to say. So I would expect maybe some sort of similar returns out of that set in comparison to, say, something like a Astral Radiance from Sword and Shield. Now, the next one, Twilight Masquerade. This is a really difficult one because the sets just hit the market. And we all know what happens to singles. They come out of the gate really strong, and over the coming months, they see a bit of a decline. Now, sometimes some singles will buck the trend if demand stays strong for it. We saw that with Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies. We saw it with Giratina V from Lost Origin. And Greninja is just, it's the most expensive chase card from the S&V era so far. Can it hold on? Its pull rates are difficult. Like we're talking 1 in 750 packs or thereabouts, which is similar pull rates to something like a Giratina V. So can it hang on at that price? Quite possibly. It's really pumping up the price of the top 10 though. Current top 10 price is $745. To give you an idea, you know, that's on par with something like, in fact, it's even a touch more than something like a Brilliant Stars from Sword and Shield era. So its top 10 is quite strong. Now that we've rounded out all the, you know, main booster box sets from Scarlet and Violet, I just wanted to premise a couple of things. There's so many sets from Sword and Shield where the top 10 prices are over $1,000. You know, we got Fusion Strike, got Evo Skies, of course, got Chilling Rain. I think that nearly pulls them up, but there's 3 sets with booster box top 10 hits north of $1,000, and not just a little bit north. Like they are well and truly over $1,000, particularly Chilling Rain and Evolving Skies. Lost Origin, is a 4th one where total hits are over $1,000, mainly because of that Giratina. So actually, no, I think that's just a touch under. That might be similar to Twilight Masquerade. So anyway, my point being, if we're expecting a similar return on investment to sets like Chilling Rain, Evolving Skies, we might be pushing it a little bit. So that begs the question, you know, what's the best main set from Scarlet and Violet so far? Now, forget about reprints, because reprints will happen based on demand. So let's talk 5 or 10 years down the track and go, okay, what's the best set so far? Well, really, it's Temporal Forces, Twilight Masquerade, and Paldea Evolve. I really think you'd just be wasting your money into, well, you wouldn't be wasting your money. I don't think you're ever going to lose investing in Obsidian Flames, but you're not going to see the growth that Paldea, Temporal, or Twilight will see. Those sets just have a stronger top 10. And really, if we're looking solely at the top 10, well, Twilight Masquerade is currently at the top. And if that Greninja holds on, it could well hold that place until we get a better set, like, maybe the future set that's coming out with the Team Rocket return set. Now, when it comes to the two holiday sets, 151 and Payday and Fates, they're actually holding quite strong. The top 10 in 151, and of course the number one chase card is the Charizard. It's $413. And funnily enough, Payday and Fate's top 10 is actually $418. It's a little bit stronger than 151. And again, the top chase card being a Charizard. Now, those two sets sitting around there, I think 151 is going to steal the show. Like, there's just too much nostalgia attached to that set. So whether Payday and Fate's top 10 even overtakes it, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. I think the demand for 151, the amount of people that bought back into the hobby, is just going to give it a premium no matter what. Now, having said that, how should we expect maybe our Elite Trainer box, for argument's sake, to perform over time if the total top 10 value is about $400? To give you an idea, a set like Shining Legends from Sun and Moon era, top 10 values in the high 300s for a holiday set. To give you an idea of a lot weaker holiday sets like Pokemon Go, I think the top 10 struggles to even get a touch over $60. So to give you an idea, the two holiday sets we've actually seen so far from Scarlet and Violet are stronger, I think, than Sword and Shield. Champion's Path was really weak, except it had two banger Charizards inside there. Pokemon Go was arguably the weakest set from Holiday and Main from the whole Sword and Shield era. And then, of course, Shining Fates, is a weaker set than what Payday and Fates is. So if that gives you a bit of an indication, I don't think investing in either holiday sets is a bad idea with the Elite Trainer box. Will you get the same return on investment as investing in maybe something like a Twilight booster box, a Temporal Forces booster box, or a Payday and Fates, Payday Evolved booster box? Probably not. Let's see what the rest of Scarlet and Violet brings. Let's see what happens with reprints. But don't forget, the people sitting at the top, okay, they're not stupid. It's the most successful. It's the most successful brand in history, and it's the most successful trading card game in history. They're not going to print so much that the market just cannot absorb it and prices completely tank. It's just a bad look for the business. If we all know how that supply chain works, it gets produced, it goes down to the distributors link it out to bigger networks, so bigger stores, and stores pass it on to the public. And if that ever gets clogged up, it's a really, really bad look. Like, if we oversupply a certain set and the market just cannot absorb it, and stores are rejecting it from distributors saying, hold on, we can't even sell the current inventory we've got. I don't want any more of that off you. That chain gets wrecked. Sets will get reprinted because they're predominantly printed to demand. If there's high demand for it, it'll get printed. That's why I know 151 English is already reprinted in the EU. I cannot see it not being reprinted in the US. I just can't see it not happening. It's going to be printed. It's a high demand set. So anyway, hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea on some return on investments and some good sets, or the best picks of sets so far to invest in Scarlet and Violet. I'm Michael, this is Poke Oz, and I'll catch everyone next time.